Okay. Thank you. Welcome to everyone for joining us. So, just a few words before our main speaker goes on. Our main aim for this series is to build a community of researchers through empowering ourselves with knowledge and that we glean from the knowledge. This meeting is the first of a series for this year, and it will run from today, the 9th of January, to the 25th of June. We will have it once every 2 weeks. Each session will last for 1 hour. We'll have a talk or a discussion for about 45 minutes, and then we will entertain questions for about 15 minutes. Also, the chat room will be open for questions and comments. Today, our speaker has been ranked consistently as the number one researcher in the Lagos State University and among the top researchers in the country. He has attracted international grants in millions of dollars to LASUCOM. He has also assisted, and he continues to assist, several colleagues in applying for research grants. Professor Abiodun Adewuya, sir.
So I've been asked to talk about building a career in research. I'm not sure I'm the best person to talk about this, but at least when my sub-dean calls, I must answer. So I'll be very brief. I think we have only 1 hour, and I'm sure everybody wants to get back to their families. So building a career in research, I'll talk briefly about obstacles to development to successful career. And I will talk about what I can just call the rules of a successful research career, especially as related to clinical medicine, and maybe just some advice to people, and then we can have enough time to discuss. Most of this came from what I jotted down between yesterday and the little time I had today to talk to colleagues. So, I've looked at it that the main obstacles to successful research career from my just look at this, I could divide them into 3. First, most of us, we don't have enough preparation for a research career. We went to medical school for most of us, and we swore an oath, a Hippocratic oath, to take care of our patients. But mind, for a long time, we'll be delivering services, and suddenly we join the university. We still see ourselves as doctors and not even academician, not even researcher, we see ourselves as doctors, as medical doctors, and nothing else. So if you're asked what's a professor, you're likely to say you're a medical doctor. Whereas actually you are a university lecturer. So what is expected of a medical doctor may be different from what is expected of a university lecturer, but because our profession is one of the very few where you need to swear an oath that throughout your life you be a doctor. And so I think that oath that we swore actually went into our behavior in many areas. And so to switch from being a clinician to a researcher became very difficult for most of us. So, and for most of us, we are not actually adequately prepared. We just finish our fellowship and then got a job in university without actually knowing what that means. So I would say inadequate preparation for a research career, which may cut across things like problem with goal setting, problem with time management, inadequate understanding of requirement for promotion, lack of research focus, problem with achieving and maintaining productivity. The other category will be difficulty in obtaining research support, which could be problem with mentorship support, institutional support, and maybe collaborative support. Third, and actually, which is the biggest thing for some of us in the college that work in LASUCOM, enormous pressure to perform our increasing clinical activities. So let me go over them one by one. As a first step, most of us are fellows. I know that the faculty has other staff in nursing, but most of us are fellows. And because the junior staff, I believe that they should develop long and short-term goals when they join the college. Without very explicit goals, it's going to be very difficult for you to acquire the skills that you need for long-term career success, and it's going to be very difficult for you to effectively address the potential and, of course, the demands that are needed by and the problems that are experienced by young researchers. So I would suggest that if you have not made it as a young researcher, maybe just join us a year or 2 years, you've just been promoted to a senior lecturer. You need a long-term goal. 5 years from now, what do you want to accomplish? Will you have wanted to be in the professorial cadre? Or at least you want to be a senior lecturer? Or at least you want to have published at least 10 or 20 articles in social journals? So have that long-term goal. And the long-term goal should clearly describe what you want to accomplish and why. And you should make sure that you have like maybe 2 or 3 long-term goals. And then, of course, you can have a short-term goal. Maybe in the next 6 months, what do you really want to do? And this will involve specific tasks so that your productivity can be monitored. And of course, it should relate to your long-term goals and, of course, anticipate what your career accomplishment will be like. So for most of us, when we just maybe after getting our fellowship and joining the university, we still continue to perform our clinical duties, which is quite required by the hospital because we are honorary consultant to the hospital. But most of us are overburdened with clinical demands. And sometimes too, the professors, because they don't have time, most of them have become deans, provosts, directors. They give us most of their lectures. So when we join as either lecturer 1 or maybe at a senior lecturer level, what happens is that we teach most of the courses. Meanwhile, and in the college and in the hospital, we run most of the clinics for the consultants. So that leaves little or no time for research. This may lead to frustration and danger of dropping out of academics altogether, and people can just get frustrated. And so I feel that we need blocks of uninterrupted time for young academics to pursue research. And this protected research time should be separated from other types of non-clinical activities like attending meetings, teaching activities, and seminars. I remember when I joined some years ago, I advocated, although it was turned down by my own colleagues, when I was made the HOD of the Department of Psychiatry in the hospital. I went to the MD then, Dr. Lubile, that you should please not make me the HOD, that I'm not a full-time of the hospital, a full-time worker in the hospital. I'm just an honorary consultant, just like a local, and that I am employed to the college, and I only come to the hospital because there's an agreement between the hospital and the college to allow me some time out of my college time to go to the hospital to see patients. And I only do my ward round and I clean and I come back. So I don't think I'm in a position to run the clinical services in the hospital. And they wasn't at that time negatively disposed to that. So my suggestion then that it should find hospital consultants to be the heads in the hospital so that I can have time, so that I won't be attending management meetings and things like that. But of course, our colleagues in the college were against it for. But yeah, I think I told that story because I felt that, look, when you're in the college and you have left the clinical area, I decided to join as a researcher and academician in the college or in the university. You should realize that your main job, your number one job, is a researcher and an academician. So it is when the college, you are full-time employed here, from your 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Well, there's an agreement between the college and university that you can take out of that to attend to the clinic and the ward round and the theater in the university. All I'm trying to say is that when you join the university, realize that there's a shift in what your responsibilities are. At the same time, you should create time for your research work, which should be protected. Now, another point that I think we have problems with, inadequate understanding of university requirement for promotion. Most of us joined, and 1 year, 2 years, we are still finding our feet. We still have some clinic that we are running in Kurudu, company we are running in Lekki. We still didn't leave them. And we never really asked anyone What does it take to move from lecturer one to senior lecturer? What does it require to move from senior lecturer to associate professor? So the current rule of the game is that your research publications and your research grants are more important for your promotion than teaching. Many people get the same thing in teaching. Patient care is not so factored in. Yes, it may seem unfair, but that is the current rule of the game. Unless you are going to have clinical professors, that's when you can start looking at patient care. But for now, when you join the hospital, when you join the university, your research is what is most important. So if you wish to have a long-term academic career, you must put into play developing a research focus, publishing research papers, and obtaining research grants. Those should be your highest priorities. Now, another area that I feel that we normally have problems, most of us lack research focus. The most certain path to academic success is for you to have a well-defined research focus. And of course, you can obtain research funding and produce research publications that are directly related to that focus. Yes, of course, occasionally you may pursue other promising areas of research, but this shouldn't be too frequent. This digression shouldn't be too frequent because it can be counterproductive. It is too diverse from what you cannot be jack of all trade and at the same time you now end up as master of none. So I would advise that you choose a research focus that is very interesting to you personally and one in which you are likely to be able to maintain a very enduring curiosity. If I'm going to give an example for myself, I decided to pick on psychiatry as a specialty because that was the only course in medical school. I could read like a novel. I enjoy reading it and I wouldn't drop the old Oxford Textbook of Psychiatry. I could read it hours and days and months on end. And when I did my psychiatry posting, I realized that I was quite curious about how a man thinks. If a man takes a gun and shoots another person, I won't judge him. First thing that will come to my mind is why. And I wanted to explore more in that area. So I will always advise that choose an area where you are curious about and you want to explore more because research is actually quite exploratory in nature. But it's become very efficient if you are able to match your clinical activities with your research activities so that, of course, you can produce some results and you can leverage your time very well. Doing your clinical work and at the same time, you are using that clinical work to collect your data and you research where you're doing your clinical work. Now, the most productive areas to me are the areas where you can be impactful and you can make changes. Most of the time now, this goes to maybe that's why the people in public health are extremely powerful because in low and income countries, these are the areas where we can do so much. And of course, if possible, the problem you are supposed to focus on should be quite important, should be a burden. If you are focusing on maybe code and kata, for example, well, it's very common, but is it a burden? Anybody get about it? It will not be such an issue unless it's COVID, which looks like code, but it's not. So that becomes very important. I will say that we should place more emphasis on producing quality work than on quantity or generating a large quantity of work. A few high quality research publications in a very focused field will further your career and make you, give you a reputation of an expert in a field more rapidly than producing hundreds and that are not focused and it's not really a quality. So I believe we should strive to publish original data and try and be the first author in at least a large percentage of your work. If anybody, people from Ife, OEU, not Ife of Professor Ogun and Co. We remember the person we normally put my name. Became a professor because probably I had 200 publications, but authors probably in maybe only 15% because we're just gathering, put my name in all that. Nobody could see him as an expert or in any area because we're just gathering paper publications all over. So that's just what I feel. Why I feel that you should focus more on quality rather than the numbers. So, well, sometimes too we have problems with achieving and maintaining productivity. I've seen many researchers or many academicians or many of our junior colleagues who, sorry for using that word, seduced. What they do mostly when they get employed is that the pharmaceutical companies, they want to talk about hypertension. They go to talk about hypertension to in seminars and things like that. So they give all these talks and they become popular on TV and things like that. And they give them some development grants to work on. This is fine. And the companies are going to give you money. If you attach yourself to it, they're the ones that go to hospitals to talk for the pharmaceutical companies or things like that. That's fine. But all these may not lead to collection of data. So the problem there would be that the most important source of support you are likely to have is to pursue those that directly lead to the collection of research data that you can personally publish. As young academicians, I believe too that we shouldn't really wait for big funding before we start collecting data. It should be possible for us to start small on a very small focus area and then go on from there without getting a grant. But myself, Professor Ola, I think we started back in school when we were senior registrars, and we were taking, I think 10 or 20% of our salaries. We were very small then. Putting it together, I think like 4 of us were all in the same department, putting it together every month. And we're able to buy a photocopy machine. So if you wanted to make questionnaire, use a photocopy machine to reproduce the questionnaire, and then we give the photocopy machine out for commercial purpose, and the money being made was put into the research. And then, of course, one of us went to get some degree in statistics. So we opened a shop that we're analyzing for our consultants and making some money. So by that way, we were able to have some money to collect our data. So I don't think that young researchers should wait for big grants. There will be some small ones, TED funds, some small ones here and there. So we can actually start collecting our data and become more productive. I will say too that for productivity, you should choose your collaborators wisely if you are going to collaborate with people. It's helpful if your mentor, which I'm going to talk about later, is part of, or a collaborator is part of a successful research group, and can realize that can help you in getting very productive. One thing I know is that for many people, if I ask how many of our young listener lecturer below now did publish their fellowship either West Africa or national, I don't know how many. For most, you're not productive if you just collected data for your fellowship and you just put it in the archive, either West Africa or national, and you refuse to publish it. Meanwhile, you have joined a university and you have not even thought about how to go ahead. So that's quite important. Now, and then you must learn the discipline that is necessary to see your project to completion, which is actually what I was trying to talk about getting your papers published. Collecting your data is not enough. You have to see to it, and presenting in the conference is not enough. You have to see the data is published. Even publishing nowadays is not enough. You have to see that whatever you publish is now put to use by dissemination and accord, making sure that you use it to implement some policy changes. So I believe that many of us waste our precious time and efforts by not seeing what we have done or data we have collected, not seeing it through. And so to achieve productivity, it is critical that we practice the principles of time management and, of course, avoid distraction when we join the college. Well, I realize that for many people, it is the first 2-3 years of joining the college that they get frustrated because they may not be able to find a way around most things, because in their mind, they are still clinicians and getting around research becomes so difficult. So, yes, another problem that many young researchers may have is lack of a good mentor. Well, I would say that unless you already have significant research experience, in the research world, you will not go far without a good mentor. And let me be clear, a clinical supervisor or someone who supervises a project may not be your mentor. They are not necessarily the same. A supervisor role is often limited in their time and commitment, and maybe sometimes just leads to a decent academic outcome, maybe that part 2 project, or maybe a PhD project, or a professional goal, pastor fellowship or something like that. On the other hand, a good mentor, a mentorship is very different. A mentor and a mentee, they have a negotiation about their expectations, about their goals, and use a wide variety of skills and techniques to achieve them for quite an extended period. So it's not as if it's only, oh, okay, I want to produce fellowship, I want to produce your PhD. That's a supervisor. A mentor can be for life or for a very long period. And the mentor-mentee relationship, of course, should be symbiotic. What do I mean? The mentor provides the junior person. I mean, the mentor provides the junior faculty career advice, tips on how to allocate their time, how to transit from being a clinician to an academician, provides advice on culture in academia, sometimes political advice and protection from, of course, the big guys who may want to harm him. And of course, creation of opportunities, show him if there are grants opportunities, conference opportunities, and of course, methodological and research methodology advice too can be provided. In turn, the mentee, of course, provide the mentor with initiatives, makes the mentor feel responsible for someone, makes the mentor to be creative, and of course, provide honest feedback as to his own growth to the mentor. So I always say that people should beware of entering into a relationship that's only beneficial to one of the partners and not both of them. And in choosing your mentor, you must have some things. I believe a high degree of self-awareness is what is quite necessary. That's one. And then you must consider your own personality, consider your emotional needs, consider your professional skills, consider your own work habits. Are they in line with that of your mentor? Consider if your mentor have time for you. Somebody chooses me as a mentor now for the past 2 or 3 years. I don't think I've been a good mentor because I have administrative responsibilities. So unless the person is patient with me, my mentee will have gotten angry because I'm not there, because I have to do other things. So you have to consider all that. And of course, and a research mentor is different from a clinical mentor. The person that did you on how to tie the fallopian tube, but not that, I mean, they taught you how to tie fallopian tube. Of course, he's a clinical mentor, but may not have written a single publication on tying fallopian tube. So you can choose him as a mentor for clinical skill, but doesn't have to be your mentor for research. So like I asked, does your mentor have time for you? That's quite important. Is your mentor senior and secure enough to allow you to develop your own ideas? Because that's quite important too, because you can get a sense of this by trying to look at his past mentees and see whether they are people who have grown big in their research career themselves. And you can ask directly if all those past mentees are your colleagues and how he has been. And so it's quite important because they are not all mentors want their mentees to grow bigger than them. You have to be careful. And then ask whether your mentor have trained junior faculty members before. And what is your mentor's special interest? If you pick a field of, let me see, O&G is a very big area, but is it in assisted reproductive technology or is it in so you have to talk about this really special interest of your mentor and look at it. What article has he written in that area? Like I said before, is he a clinical or a research mentor? That's quite important. So let me just talk about some what I would call some simple rules that I just want to like 5 rules I feel are quite important if you want to develop a good research career. 1 is know the rules. Know what is expected of you. if you just joined, or you're 2 or 3 or 4 years here, directly ask your HOD, or you can ask Professor Rice, who's the dean, or a research director, the Kuturu, or even your mentor. How will your success be judged? Ask, what do I need to do over the next 1 year? Now, if you've just been promoted to associate professor, what is required of you? So in the next 3 years, will the dean or the provost then ask you, let me see. So if you are going to eat 70 points, what do you require to eat 70 points? Each paper is rated at maximum 3% of 3, which is excellent. Anyway, it will be 80. So you must have calculated how many. So what do I need to do over the next 1 year? So if in 3 years, before your next promotion, you are required to have added 10 more papers. That will be like 3 or 4 papers per year. What do you need? If you need 3 papers per year, that means every 4 months, at least 1 paper should come out. Can you conduct 3 research in a year? Or you want to conduct 1 and then have 3 areas of writing it? So those are things you must have put together. How many publications do you expect me to have? When do you expect me to have my first grant? You can ask that from your mentor. So at least that is my rule number 1, is that know the rules. Rule number 2, I will say that show your productivity early. How do you do it? I feel that if you have projects that you have or assignments given to you, finish them as soon as possible. Your fellowship, work at our LASUCOM National, get them published. That will show you proof that yes, you want to be a researcher and you're ready to bring some tasks to completion. You can attach yourself to projects that are existing. If Professor Akimbami is doing some things in hematology and you're in that area, why not join him? And if you are interested if that's your focus, existing projects make it to leverage your productivity in that. Of course, you can use it to gather your own data or look at other population. And of course, it can learn from how the person is running his own. And of course, you should make yourself a local expert. You should develop a reputation as a local expert in your area of interest. Learn about the clinical and methodological nuances that are around your research area. And volunteer to demonstrate your expertise in high-profile activities like grant run and things like that. So, a very interesting area about local expertise is, I remember when I got to Lagos from my village in Ife. So I'm not sure I knew at that time more than my house and LASUCOM. Any other place in Lagos, I would get lost. So I was gently sitting in the clinic one day when I got a call, and it was from, sorry to say, a hospital. And at that time, I knew a hospital. I didn't even know the road, that Maryland road very well. I should know that when you're coming from Ife, you're likely to pass that place. And I was asked to come and see a patient. I didn't want to honor such. I felt, did I ask you that I wanted to come and see a patient? Oh, well, the patient is a patient and I'm a doctor. Okay. And I told them, sorry, I couldn't drive in Lagos. I couldn't even drive to your hospital. I was taking bus up and down then because I would get lost if I'm driving. So they brought their car to pick me up. And I saw the patient, ADHD, a 7-year-old boy. The prescription was straightforward for any psychiatrist. And I wrote it and I just came back within 5 minutes. And I forgot about it until, of course, I received a check, which was bigger than my salary, like maybe 2 weeks later. So the manager of the hospital now called me later and said, did I get this? I said, check. Yes. But I said, well, why did you call me? Why? I just finished my fellowship like 2 years prior. And what he said was that, look, the father of the boy went online to search for who had written something in ADHD in Nigeria. And it was only my name. Sorry, ADHD means attention deficit capacity. Can I take this one? Sorry that I'm speaking slangs. So it was only my name that came out. And I was just leaving residency. And the man, of course, must have been rich enough to use a course, which in those days, assumed I was an expert and asked a course to come and pick me up. So what I'm saying is this: when you do things like that, you probably make yourself a local expert. Someone in UK would think that you are the best person in Nigeria because the publication she has seen in Nigeria in a particular area was written by you. So make yourself a local expert. It's quite important and may be very good for you. You can apply for local or pilot grants. The college should bring out their own grant this year. Please apply for it. People that applied for it 2 or 3 years ago, they are still running the project now. So TED Fund, make sure you get prepared for TED Fund. If Pfizer or any of the pharmaceutical companies are sending a grant proposal, even if it's just 2, 3, 4 million naira, please apply for it and don't. It may not provide much money, but the indicators of your ability to get more grant. My rule number 3 will be to focus. I think we talked about this. Focus your research on one theme. This enhances your chances of producing a body of work that is a significant contribution. It also makes it easier for you to write competitive grants. And of course, it increases the likelihood they're likely to see you as an expert. So to help you focus, I will suggest maybe 3 things. Sorry, I typed all this in there. All right. First is that, of course, limit your number of minor projects. Things that don't really add to your being called an expert. They may sometimes distract you. You want to do case study. You saw one case study here, case study there, case study there, a page, you wrote it in. I'm not saying all these local journals are not good. What I'm saying is that you are just focusing on small case studies. That may not really help at the long run. It may distract you from doing a landmark study or something that is extremely important. And of course, devote most of your time to your own work. Sorry about the typo, writing this in a hurry. This does not mean that you cannot selectively involve yourself in other people's work. Collaborations are fun and it's good to, learn from others and lead to other opportunities. But nonetheless, if you are focused on stroke, in neurology, focus on stroke. Don't do stroke today. Go and do epilepsy tomorrow. Go and do subarachnoid hemorrhage the day after. Focus on stroke. If you are focusing in ONG, maybe in pediatrics, if you are focusing on kernicterus or whatever, focus on that. Let people know that that is who you are. So, because you need force authorship. If I tell you collaborate with others for what they are focused on, they're going to put your name as second or third, but you need for your force authorship. Well, the third thing I would say is that you should learn to say no to other commitments that may divert your attention or focus. Yes, some of us may be good people. Oh, please help me. We are doing some work. Adewuya, please help me. Okay, I'll say yes. I'll say yes. But me, I have my own work I'm doing. But because I'm saying yes to everybody, I've not been able to focus on my own. So you should learn to say, oh, sorry, I'm working on a grant application myself. Or if you are working under a mentor, my prof, my mentor told me to focus more on this so that I can help you with that. So those are things you should learn to. Now, know your resources. This is extremely important. You must know the experts around you. I normally say that, okay, well, maybe to the medical students who normally call people from outside that. Funny, if by the time we pull out the degrees of the people working in LASUCOM, for example, you'll be amazed. Amongst all, we have people that have certificates in biostatistics, certificates in everything in the world. They've done everything. So if you are here and you're saying, well, I need help with something, I don't even know where to get the help is around you. You just didn't ask. Because we are Africans, we are quite modest about our achievement. It's when you both that will say, I'm an expert in this. Most of us, because of the way we are brought up, don't like to talk like that. But check the person next to you. That person 5 years ago went to get a master's in clinical trials, a master's in something that you are looking at. So who are the experts around you? You must know them. And you must be, what laboratories around you can help with your research? Even if we ask most of us now, do we know what we do in an MRI diagnostic? Many of us don't. Oh, I don't think they can do anything. But have you asked yourself what we have there? Have you gone there to check? Probably we have one of the best laboratories in Lagos. So many of us don't take time out to know the resources around, either human resources or other resources. What academic resources do you have access to? I always say that before anything, I go to WHO website for anything on intervention. And maybe you don't want to believe that, but that's the first place I go to. Whatever it is you are thinking, if it's a clinical intervention, WHO probably will have taken a look at it. UNICEF probably will have taken a look at it. World Bank probably will have taken a look at it. There's likely to have been a systematic review of whether what you are trying to do is effective or not. So there are several resources that you have. Now, apart from that, you need people who can suggest ideas, read and criticize your work, your colleagues, and of course, you need to check around whether you have local biostatistician, earth economy, social worker, anthropologists. You all need this to form a team in getting what you want. Now, rule number 5, which might be my last rule here, is that you must have good ideas. Well, good ideas are keys, I know, if you want to launch yourself into research world. But all your good ideas need to be nurtured. Ideas need to be nurtured by, the best way to nurture an idea is to talk about that idea to people. If you share your thoughts that are germinating with your colleagues, if you ask other people to read your earlier drafts of your grant proposal or your papers, or if you present your work in a maybe your departmental weekly maybe research seminars or things like that, it is, even if this is painful sometimes, or if this is I reckon with what many people say to me when I say this. They normally say that somebody's going to steal my idea, somebody's going. So I know that we live in that kind of an environment. But where I did my postdoc training in IOP in London, every 2 weeks they talk about the idea they have, the one they have sent out for publication, the ones that got rejected, everything is talked about in the open and is criticized. So nobody is afraid of somebody stealing their ideas. But I not that I'm dismissing that ideas could be stolen, but look, the best way to nurture your idea is to discuss with someone that you think you respect, give you good feedback. Well, you should be ready to seek out honest advice or criticisms. There's something you must learn. Unfortunately, many of our young colleagues lack the ability to seek out honest advice or criticism. We should realize that extensive criticism is often needed sometimes, and they are quite valuable, and it helps us to make whatever idea we have better. So, okay, as I said, I guess good ideas don't have to belong exclusively to you. Of course, good idea can be from your mentor, can be from your senior colleague, and they have ideas that they're willing to give you to start writing when you are writing the grant proposal, an idea, or a further data collection on your existing project, or an idea analysis of your existing data. And of course, that idea can excite you, and of course, you run with it. So, what you need an efficient method to update yourself on new findings to help with new ideas. Like I said, I normally go to WHO website at least once every month to find out what they have, and that keeps me updated on what is going on. So let me give some general advice before I run down. One is that please start writing early. We must realize that the penultimate outcome of our research ideas is scientific publication, so that our novel findings can be shared and it could be used to improve knowledge, and it could be used to improve healthcare. So strong writing skills are important to our career development and to our research success. And you need a mastery of that skill for you to be a prolific author, which in the area of either language accuracy, technical accuracy, or something like that. So, and it's unlikely that you acquire all the skills you require for scientific writing without practicing it often. So, as a young researcher, what you need to do is to start writing early enough. You need a first-hand experience of manuscript formatting, referencing, things like that, so that you can get very good in writing. The second advice I would say is I start reviewing early. Although that second advice is premised on the first advice, it's only when you publish something in your area that a journal of respiration or journal of asthma will see what you have published and want to send something like that asthma to you, even if you're just a junior person in respiratory medicine. But the idea is that when they give you such a review, don't reject it and say, I'm not an expert, so I cannot review this. I'm too busy. I normally recommend that you should review as many articles as you publish as you were giving back to a scientific committee. But that's review from what you're asked to do on one hand. On the other hand, too, is that apart from collecting original data, you should start doing systematic reviews. That gives you a kind of a general knowledge about that area. I often say that if you want to do something on epilepsy, for example, maybe you want to look at a new intervention for epilepsy, I expect you to have done a thorough review, publish that thorough review. That shows that you're an expert in interventions for epilepsy. So if you now bring out your own new idea of how to treat epilepsy, that's such as blood loss or maybe whatever type of epilepsy, it will have been shown that, yes, you have this expert knowledge on epilepsy and how to manage epilepsy. And you have looked at the literature and you found out that there's a gap. And that's a gap you're trying to close by suggesting your own new method. So start reviewing, either writing a systematic review or reviewing for journals early. It's an unpaid job, we all know. But it's important because this gives you an idea of what people are doing. I've talked about mentorship. So find a mentor. Some people ask me, must your mentor be local or you can choose outside your institution? Maybe when LASUCOM was maybe 14 years ago, 15 years ago, but now we have professors all around us. I'm not sure that even Unilag are better than us, but that I don't want to offend Unilag people. But look, whatever is it, either in-house or outside, even outside, nowadays with improved communications with Zoom and WhatsApp call and things like that and emails, you can have mentors everywhere. A young researcher can expand his or a pool of potential mentors to even distant geographical areas. So in addition to the direct knowledge transfer that occurs between the mentor and a mentee, the mentor can, of course, introduce the mentee to a wider network of collaboration in different disciplines. So we can have local training for mentorship. I think in 2024, we should be able to put that as part of something. We could find some professors who could act as mentors to younger ones in the college. So I think we can do something about that. Mentorship has its own drawbacks, but I won't talk about that today. So the fourth was that you should start collaboration and networking early. It is important for young researchers to realize that early in their career, collaboration, networking, and the multidisciplinary team effort is quite important. Networking sometimes can be quite stressful for someone starting out early, but it is extremely important. You cannot keep to your shell and then want to be successful. And there are several networking platforms, LinkedIn and things like that. I think you can get networking easily now. And I often joke on my platform that people introduce themselves on LinkedIn the same way some other people introduce themselves. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. And every certificate they get, they put it there. Well, it's good for some people to get, people will be interested in you. Your collaboration can be with your peers, it can be with your senior colleagues, it can be your junior colleagues. And apart from your research activities conducted with other senior supervisors or mentors, you can initiate preliminary attempt at sharing knowledge and guiding junior colleagues too. You can establish networks with your peers, and it's quite important when you are starting out, so that, just like I said when you were senior registrars during residency, the four of us gather together and we form a network. So if you are going to do any research, somebody will lead it, others will follow, and then the next research project goes to the other person. So we're able to get publications that way. So young researchers should not only seek collaboration in for some of us, we believe that we should seek collaboration only from UK or US partnership, or even our professors still try to do that. There's nothing wrong in the professor in LASUCOM collaboration with the professor in UI. It doesn't have to be only with the professor in US or UK. Yes, I know that this is needed when the grant bodies say that a researcher in UK or US must partner with researcher in low and income countries. So, but what I'm saying that even when that is going on, we must find a way to collaborate with people around us. The next advice I will give is identify your source of funding. Research costs money, and part of being a researcher is learning where the money is coming from and finding out where the grant bodies are. So all the local grant bodies, if Pfizer, Glasgow are giving money, find out that Glasgow, Nigeria, Pfizer, Nigeria, Rotary Club in Nigeria, anybody giving out any research, even MTN, if they go to their foundation page and see whether they give out some research. That's one thing. Check TechFund whether they give out some research. Then you can go to Wellcome Trust, UKRI. Although you must just find out where the source of funding is quite important. Fundings may also be available for young researchers for masters or doctoral studies, for fellowships or postdoc, or for some field of research that are quite particular. There are some standalone grants and that you can easily get. It will not be so much, too much of dollars, but it's still okay. Of course, we know the popular ones that people apply. Wellcome Trust, like Canadian Institute for Health Research, Grant Challenges, other Grant Challenges by Bill Gates, or the Grant Challenges Canada. There's now Grant Challenges Africa that you can apply to. The US has the NIH that most of our colleagues are collaborating with Google for it. The UK has the UKRI, they have NIHR, and then the Center for Disease Control. So Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, there are several of these people that can give grants. It's your duty to identify that source. My number 6 advice is to establish your research interest. Of course, this comes from your own background, your specialty. I expect someone who just got his fellowship from maybe surgery, and who just joined us, for example, to be interested in surgical research. Of course, can be interested in anatomical research, or at least. So so you must establish a research interest. I said earlier, it should be that research interest in which you can continuously be curious about, in which within 5 years, you say, okay, look, I've lost interest in researching into this area. You can only continue a level of research if you are curious in that area. Number 7 would be to invest in developing research methodology training. It should be methodology. There's a recommendation that if you go for a research methodology training, which we can develop here, or an advanced training in research methodology, or a master's program or a PhD program that we are trying to establish, that will have so much research content and will include publishing before you get your PhD. And that will have, of course, make sure that you develop your idea and research. So there are important concepts like formulation of research questions, study design, calculation of sample size, basic biostatistics, research ethics. All this, if you go through a structured academic training, it will make significant difference in the way you see research and make your research work easier, and of course, allow you to be able to publish your work earlier. So you should consider all these options. That's why I said if their master's program that will help you, I think can be floated. So the number 8, I said, develop an adequate set of interpersonal and personal skills. Well, these are quite important. Interpersonal skills are important in research. It allows you to network very well. You should be able to interact with people. In my younger days, and I normally, when we were seeing young psychiatrists, we travel all over to Kenya, to Uganda, to South Africa. Maybe most of you will have experienced it. You are in a room full of whites and blacks, and you find out that the Nigerians gather together. So if we left Nigeria as colleagues and we get to Australia and there are 300 people in the room, why do you want to talk to me? We are still going back to the same Nigeria, Lagos. Go and talk to someone and network. It could be because we are shy people. Sometimes we don't really want to. We feel safe attacking to people we know, but there's no point staying together in the same planes, working in the same LASUCOM, and we've been talking for years. We now find ourselves in Australia in a conference, and you are still talking to me. It's an opportunity for you to talk to others and network with others. Don't go there without your complimentary card. Talk to people. It's not the Nigerian. You have all the time in the world to talk to that Nigerian. The only reason, and there's nothing I'm going to do in that conference that is unheard of. The only reason you are there is to network. Please develop that. That you don't just go to somewhere and be looking for a familiar face. That's not the reason you are there. The reason you are there is to meet unfamiliar faces and network with them. So develop that skill. Develop a skill that you readily use to give your contact details to people, request people contact details when you go to conference. This will help your research. Now, then, of course, I said, become a mentor yourself. That you are a lecturer one or a senior lecturer and you still have a mentor doesn't mean that you yourself cannot be a mentor to younger people. The natural aspiration and evolution of a mentee should be to be a mentor, either son or at least in turn. So young researchers, to me, should aim to obtain positions that require practical teaching and supervision of some set of people. So if maybe in Comet and they have to do 600 level students have to do postings, of course, become their mentor. And master students come to you, become their mentor. Your residents, you are their mentor. So I feel that just because you have a mentor as a junior academic does not mean that you cannot be a mentor yourself. But the last I would say is to find and maintain balance. The research, being a career researcher is good, but it's best to be a human being and enjoy life. So it's exciting to be a researcher. It's rewarding as research if you enjoy it. But it's typically just one aspect of a young academician's activity and only one aspect of your life. As your expertise grow, your responsibilities multiply and you do some other things. You're given you're given administrative roles. You're given roles that are maybe outside research. It could be a sign of recognizing who you are, maybe from your research, but you become dean, you become provost, you become HOD, you become anything, you come out, look at government chairman, you become head of your company. Just find a balance in all this so that you don't burn out easily. So I think that's what is most important, that you should find a balance. Time has gone. Let me stop here. Thank you.